Stop for a moment and listen. Imagine that sound in your mind, the peak of a celebration, that single, clear note rising above the laughter and music, the sound of two crystal glasses meeting. Clink. So familiar, isn't it? So innocent, so joyful. Now, what if I told you that sound is a lie? What if I told you that it's the music of paranoia, not joy, that it's part of an interrogation, not a celebration, and that this simple gesture was in fact a mortal code designed to find out if anyone at your table, even those you love most, was a potential murderer? This is the story of the dark truth behind a tradition you thought you knew. This is the decryption of an ancient ritual of fear you participate in every time you say, "Cheers." Hold your glasses tight, because by the end of this journey, you will never hear that innocent little clink in the same way again. Our story begins in a world where the word trust was a luxury, where shadows were sharper than daggers. This was an era where kings, dukes, and lords ruled, but where the greatest power was hidden in a vial of poison. This was an era where politics were conducted at the banquet table. An empire could be brought down not by armies, but by a few drops of aqua tofana in the right glass at the right time. History is filled with tales of rulers who sent their brothers, their fathers, their closest allies to eternity with a single glass of wine. Arsenic, known as the inheritance powder, was the favorite tool of impatient heirs. Trust was so rare that kings would not sit at a table without official tasters who sampled their food beforehand. Now, imagine yourself at one of those tables. Across from you sits a rival, perhaps an ally. He raises a glass to you. You look into his eyes. What is hidden behind his smile? A hand of friendship or the beginning of an agonizing end? How can you possibly know? It is in that moment that the ritual of toasting comes into play. But not the gentle touch we know today, no. The cups of that era were not like today's delicate crystal. They were heavy, sturdy vessels made of pewter or silver. And the act of toasting was an act of violence. The cups were slammed together with brutal force, a force strong enough to ensure that a portion of the liquid in one cup would slosh into the other. This was not a show of aggression. It was a declaration. The meaning of that deafening clash was this: if there is something in this cup that will kill me, that something is now in your cup as well. We will either drink this in mutual trust, or we will not leave this world together. It was a test of faith, a deadly oath. That jarring collision screamed a truth that words could not express. For that moment, everyone at the table was a partner in fate, not an executioner. A man who offered his cup too timidly would be suspected of hiding something. One who slammed it like a weapon was signaling a challenge. This was the social code of survival in a world where every sip could be your last. But the assassins at the table were not only made of flesh and blood. For the people of that age, the world was filled with invisible dangers. The very air was a battleground for good and evil spirits. It was believed that strong emotions like joy, laughter, and celebration attracted dark entities, demons, and devils like moths to a flame. Alcohol, or as spirits, was seen as a conduit that left the human body vulnerable to such invasions. It was feared that in your happiest moment, when your guard was down, a malevolent spirit could slip into your wine and possess your body and soul. What could be the defense against this unseen enemy? The answer was, once again, found in noise. Just as the holy tolling of a church bell was believed to drive away demons and evil spirits, the sharp, metallic sound of cups clashing together was thought to have the same protective power. The collective clink, created when everyone toasted at once, was in fact a spiritual shield being raised around the celebration. It was a ritual that blessed the moment and the people in it, warding off demonic forces. That sound was a message to the darkness. You cannot touch this joy. This moment is ours. Every clink was a small victory won in an invisible war.
So what happened? How did a tradition born from mortal fear and dark superstition transform into today's universal symbol of joy? Time is the greatest transformer. With the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment, reason began to replace superstition. Science found ways to detect poisons. Trust became the foundation of relationships, not something to be proven at the table. At the same time, the delicate and elegant crystal glasses created by Venetian masters began to grace the tables of the nobility. It was now impossible to brutally slam these works of art together. It would only result in a pile of expensive glass. And so the violent clash gave way to the gentle, melodious touch of today. As the form of the act changed, so did its meaning. The fear was forgotten, but the desire to come together, to share a moment, and to seal that moment with a sound remained. The tradition was stripped of its dark origins and took on an entirely new meaning. That sound no longer represented poison, but trust. No longer demons, but friendship. It became the final piece that completes an experience lived through our 5 senses. We see the glass, we smell the wine, we feel it on our lips, we taste it. And with that clink, we bring our sense of hearing into the symphony, making the moment perfect. So now you know. The next time you are at a celebration and you hold that glass in your hand, when you hear that familiar sound, remember, you are not just celebrating a moment, you are echoing the survival tactics of your ancestors, a modern echo of a shield they raised against poison and demons. You will never toast the same way again. Cheers, if you dare.